waiting.
Awesome.
Go.
Right,
You're
guys. Good evening. It's 7 o'clock, Monday, 7 p.m., and we are not just crew. Well, joining me tonight are my usual guests. We have Simon Costello, clinical assistant for the NHS. We have Alex Chisnell, entrepreneurial podcaster. Ali Murphy, award-winning voiceover actor. And our special guest tonight is Stephen Ellwood, who went from long-haul cabin crew member to become air traffic control at Cranfield, Britain's first digital airfield. So a very warm welcome to you all.
Hello, everyone.
Also, a massive warm welcome to all our new members today. I think we've had over 300 new members, so welcome to you all. If you haven't tuned in before, what we try to do is lift everyone's spirits. We haven't always got all the answers, but we know in this difficult time it can be quite lonely, and it's just so we can all be together just for this 1 hour. Anyway, my special guest tonight, as we've already said, is Stephen. He's got quite a story. But before we start, Stephen, how would our viewers know you? Because I know, especially our EasyJet viewers, how would they know you? Because I know the answer to this already. So,
Trevor, I knew you would bring this up. I'm already blushing. Well, my aviation career started in 1998, and I worked for Reed Aviation at Luton Airport, and LWT at the time, which is now ITV, they actually asked me if they could film me a little bit, and it somehow went off really well, and they did a full series on me on Airline. And it's still shown on I think Sky channels now. It's all over YouTube, and every now and again people do say they recognise my voice. Rather than my face, because it has got a lot fatter and a lot older, and that's
haven't we all?
Yeah, and that's where my aviation career started many years ago. Not you, Simon. No, you're still very young.
Thank you. Very trim. Ask Alex.
So Steve, what you're saying that they can find you on YouTube if they search? What would be the keywords? EasyJet or Stephen Ellwood or Blast from the Past?
Airline Series 7, Stephen Ellwood, episodes 1 to 8. Not that I keep looking.
Oh, okay.
Checking out the comments.
And how many views would you say you've had up to now on YouTube? Because I know you never look, but I'm sure you might know somebody who has.
How many views?
Yeah.
That I certainly don't know, but I do know that.
Liar. Go on, Trev. Okay. All right. So Steve,
it's in the millions.
It's in the millions. Very nice. So listen, what we generally do is obviously people have been long haul airlines. How did you literally first get into the industry? You've mentioned that, but while you were working there, did you want to be cabin crew? How did that all come about?
I did want to become cabin crew because when I worked on the ground, got interested in crew, and I started dating a crew member, and it made me think I want to get into being a flight attendant. And I started working for a company, and for any of you young viewers, there was an airline called JMC Airlines, which was like a baby of Thomas Cook.
And yeah, they had green. Was it the green?
Yeah, it was.
The green.
We wore like a silver, like tinfoil coat with like this awful green uniform, and I did 2 seasons. Yeah. It was horrific. It was horrific. But the money, I would even say, the money back then in 1999 when I started flying is even better than it was for crew who were flying today. Times changed, and you'd make a killing out of wages. And so I did 2 seasons with them, and someone encouraged me. They said, apply to go and work for an airline doing long haul. I said, there's no way I'll get into that company. No way. And I did it. The interview, and I got in, and then 14 years later, so that's where I was until I had to leave.
Yeah, and so what? So 14 years. You were obviously there for quite a long time. At that time, you sort of already touched on it, but what did you enjoy about the job then?
Food.
Flying, yeah, clearly food and alcohol. I think part of the job of becoming long haul crew is learning how to drink alcohol and eat food which your body would never ever be able to accept in any normal living society. Because if you ate some of the stuff that you ate in, say, Nigeria or Kenya, or for example,
just those jalapeno poppers on board you get.
Yeah, I remember those. I remember those.
I'm still living through
those were lovely things. But the thing I honestly loved the most about flying was seeing culture around the world. The people who I've met all of you guys previously on flights. Trevor, we've been to Nigeria probably more times than we've met in England, for example. Simon, we met in California. Alex, forgive me, I can't remember, and so forth. But
we did fly, yeah.
The culture that I adored, like when you worked a flight to Japan and going out so jet lagged and exhausted, to going and trying to learn culture and the Nigerian culture, and even simply just going to America, learning their cultures, what is offensive or respectful, and that's what I loved. And then you'd be on a plane and you'd work with the same crew over and over, and you would build a bond with that person. You'd know how to work with them, and you knew you could lean on them. And that's what I did love about being, when you're stuck on a 13-hour flight from Hong Kong back to England, you knew who you could go to when you're feeling tired and exhausted. And you know, everyone on a night flight has that wobble, and you knew the people you could go to. And that's what I did love about long haul flying. That's what made it really enjoyable, which I'd still miss to this day.
Good lad.
So what was the sort of final score? Did you just get bored with the job? Had conditions changed?
There was numerous things, Trevor, in it, which included how the way the airline was going. And 14 years after I joined, it changed tremendously to where you could be really boisterous and have so much fun at work, but then you were being told to kind of quieten down, and all of the beautiful little like touches that an airline would put on an aircraft, like an amenity kit, for example, they changed and became a lower standard product, which I understand airlines and every business has to do, but I think those little things made our airline quite important. And I just kind of thought it wasn't for me. And then when my role became redundant, they offered us the 2-year pay deal before the wages was dropped. So yeah, do you know what? I stuck around for that 2 years waiting, thinking I'll get all of that extra money. But then when it did come to an end, like the larger pay rise, that wasn't the final straw. I just knew in myself that I'd done my time with that airline. It wasn't that I hated the airline or I wasn't on bad terms with the airline, but I just knew I'd done my bit for them, if that makes some sort of sense.
Yeah. I was just wondering, our other guests here, whether their experience was the same, and also anyone watching, because I know we've got many different airlines. Has your job? Send your questions into sort of Ali or Alex. Just let us know. Has your job changed since you actually first joined the airlines? And also, if you message in, please just let us know what airline you work for. It'd be interesting to see.
And be honest, see if you've Googled me and watched me on YouTube.
And let us know if you've actually Googled Steve, or if you haven't done so already,
Steve, is one of your episodes, angry airline passenger tries to take cat on plane? 2.1 million views, mate. Oh, it's EasyJet as well.
If you look at the one where it's like myself, where someone tries to smuggle some tortoises onto an aeroplane, that was my episode.
Oh, close.
Was that with Michelle? Was that with Michelle? Michelle? Did you get it? Michelle.
Oh no!
It's a Trev joke. It's a Trev joke. I got it in before Trev.
No,
shut up.
Probably Trev. To be fair, like Simon and I would have left literally just as it was changed, like 2009. You know, that's when I just when when you guys were still there after we'd gone, that's when they just started cutting crew positions, wasn't it? And that's when I just thought, I just can't do that. Yeah.
No change. Yeah, I think Ellie, I think you had the same experience. That's one of the reasons why you.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, yeah, I'd kind of hung around a bit too long probably because I was starting to get all bitter, and that you don't want to be that person on board who's miserable. But yeah, they started, and then I was the cabin service supervisor, and when they said that I'd have to go on a cart, I thought, oh no. Can't do that again.
I'm out of here.
I like to hide in the galley and
delegate.
Remember the days when there used to be like 17 crew on board and you'd do the duty-free service dressed in a bloody bikini from the duty-free, like going down the aisle on top of the car.
Yeah.
And now
wearing that.
I would like to have seen that.
What? I want to see that.
That'd be quite.
Oh my God!
No, I was 20.
I never saw that. Wow.
So Stephen, so what when you were kind of getting to this point where you were getting a bit, this isn't for me anymore, were you thinking about what you wanted to do next? Did you have any idea? What brought you to your next step?
Honestly, I was absolutely lost as to what I should do because I didn't know what to do. I knew that I wanted to still, and I honestly mean it when I say it, because when I flew, I honestly cared for people, and when I left flying, I wanted to do something where I would be able to still carry on caring for people. And I didn't honestly know, hand on heart, I didn't know where or what I wanted to do. I even applied to go and work as a gatesman on the motorway where they're doing all the constructions, just because I thought I need to stop flying now. I didn't get the job. It was £10 an hour as well.
Wow.
But,
danger money.
It wouldn't have been for me because I couldn't look after anybody, and that's where I am now, with where I am in this brilliant, amazing career that I've got now. But I am missing people. Like, so we've all got friends. Oh, sorry, Trevor.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, did you when you left your airline, did you already have another job to go to, or did you apply for another job before you actually left?
I was looking on, I don't know if we're allowed to say, streaming sites like aviation jobs or just jobs in general. I don't want to say the name in case you get sued. But there was a job search company, and I went onto it, and I was in Hong Kong at the time, and it was my favorite place. And I'm really good with numbers. And I remember I went to Hong Kong 78 times in my flying career. Wow. And I've even got Hong Kong tattooed on my back in Cantonese. It probably doesn't say Hong Kong.
I was going to say, have you spell checked that?
It doesn't say Simon was here, does it?
That one's a little bit lower down my back.
Stop.
You got a tattoo
that one's not going on
that.
iTunes.
Stop it. Yeah.
Thank you, Simon. Yeah, the teeth marks are still there. I was moving on. So while I was in Hong Kong, I did see this job for a private jet company to be a rep for them, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to apply for it. And again, I thought with my aviation background, I keep thinking about that tattoo now, Simon. So
I keep thinking about the
bite mark. Yeah, me too.
So I applied for this role thinking I won't get it, but I was invited in. I had to go for 2 interviews with them, and that's when I moved into the private aviation sector, which with all my years of knowledge of aviation, from being that check-in guy at Luton to flying, when I moved into private aviation, my eyes were opened. I thought I knew a lot about aviation, but then private aviation is completely different. It's quite shocking. Not shocking in security was bad or the industry was bad, but how different from getting on your little 747 for your 5-night Vegas was to looking after a president, with how rules and regulations were very different.
I think it's a career I think a lot of our viewers will be really interested in thinking about for the future as well. So what were the pros and cons? Like, what was the best thing about working, and what was the worst thing about working in the private sector?
In private, my goodness. The best part, oh gosh, I have to be professional. No, honestly, right. taking the job side out of it, and the perk of the job was the tips. Was ridiculously stupid. Like in 1 year, I saved £5,000 in tips alone.
Wow!
In 1 year, just tips plus your basic wage. Certainly, there's a saying where you should never meet your idols, and I've never believed that. And even like with the airline that I used to work for, and I met Pamela Anderson, and I used to fancy her as a kid. What? And then I met her, and I was like, oh, she's still lovely. But then when I've met some really A-list celebrities from all around the world and all sorts of industries, one of them I wish I never met, because it really shattered the illusion of what that person is. And I was very shocked, really, to
Well, let's not talk about Philip Schofield, right? Because we know you with a reason for coming out publicly.
I used to be Gordon the Gopher.
I bet you were. He had some teeth on him as well.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love it. I bet they get on these planes, these people, don't they? And they completely drop their guards. They drop that, they especially the entitled ones, I guess they get on board and just think, oh, I can be who I want to be now. You get me a drink and stuff like that. Do you see the bad side of people there?
Oh, yes. Like the guy who invented Skype, for example. I thought that I wore cheap clothes. Yeah, he invented Skype.
Yeah, Mr.
And
Skype.
I've looked after him, and I thought I wore quite cheap clothes. I thought it was like Stig of the Dump or Wurzel Gummidge getting off this plane. I was like, look at the state of you, right? But one of the most genuinely kind, like down-to-earth people. And then when you meet someone who's got platinum album after platinum album after platinum album, who refuses to speak to you, who turns to her husband and says, tell him there's my passport, or tell him I want this, and tell him I want that. And I just think it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. Your mother has taught everyone to be respectful.
Yes.
That's what I believe. Yeah. And this
I agree.
certain individual. Sorry, Simon.
I totally agree. No, I've had exactly the same experience with certain celebrities on board, where like inside, you're holding it in so much not to actually speak your mind, because you've got to be professional. You're acting on behalf of the company you're working for, but inside you're raging so much. It's like, who the hell do you think you are? Talk to me, for God's sake. Look at me. Talk to me. All I'm doing is asking what you want. Who the hell do you think you are? You know what I mean?
But like, Simon, you're clearly more professional than me, because I kind of didn't do what you did.
I know. I did hear.
Is that why you stopped working?
There is a certain word which is probably the most offensive word in the British or worldwide language. Yeah. And I said to this certain singer, who has lots of followers, and she's had lots of single ladies around the world, shall we say. And so there's no clues of who it was, and I said the F word and the C word to her, and I refused to work with her again.
Oh my God.
So,
what did she do?
What was the reaction? What was the reaction? Yeah.
Foul, bitter, evil, just bitter. It's like, we're all tired. We're all working in a career that we choose to do, and you're trying to be professional to somebody. Like, hello, good morning, how are you? How was your flight? Welcome, looking after them. Tell him I do not want to go in there. Tell him I am not giving him my passport. I'm stood literally within a meter away when we were allowed to be that close. And just the rudeness of it all. And it made me think, my 99 pence off iTunes got you where you are while you're sitting on your private jet.
Yeah, man.
It's terrible, isn't it?
It was.
There's no reason for it.
You met some of the most amazing ones as well, where like a gentleman who was in a boy band, shall we say, from the 60s, and little creatures scurry around the floor. I'm not allowed to say the name, but you can all guess, right? You're all
correct.
Like, what? Right? It begins with a letter B. I met him, and he is one of the most gentlest, loving, kindest, most respectful people that you could work with, and a man who was, I won't say his name, but he was in a film called Indiana Jones. What a gentleman. What an amazing gentleman.
Nice.
And like the Mission Impossible famous actor, working with him, incredible. He's just like us now. We'd be sitting and he would sit with you and chat with you.
And this was on the privates.
Yeah.
Private
But
planes,
he didn't give me a tip.
Brilliant.
He gave me a can of vegan Diet Coke, because Coca-Cola invented Coca-Cola just for him because it's vegan. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the kind.
Did you keep it or did you drink it?
So on
I
eBay.
left it at work. I don't want that. It's vegan. I wanted full fat. Look at me. Do you think I got this fat by drinking vegan stuff?
Love it.
It's quite reassuring.
You could have done your Mars bar.
Sorry, come in, Alex.
Go on, Alex.
I was saying it's quite reassuring to hear that, mate, because again, mentioning no names, I remember doing a flight, working on the upper deck with one of the other male cabin crew and a famous singer, again from a 60s band, beginning with the letter W, ending in the letter O with one word in between. And it was exactly the same as you described, literally saying, "What would you like to eat, sir?" And he'd turn to his wife and go, "Tell him that I would like the steak." And you're like, okay, well, that's really weird. And then it would be like, what would you like to drink, sir? Tell him I would like the Cabernet Sauvignon. And I was like, it's clearly me. Let's get the other person working on the upper deck to go and serve him. Yeah. Same deal. And I was like, clearly it's a male thing. Let's get one of the girls to go and serve him. Same deal. And I just thought, just like you said, everyone's brought up in a certain way. And you just think, even if you've been dragged out of the gutter, you can actually acknowledge somebody. And again, like you say, no matter how tired you are, I remember having a certain Irish talk show host. I know. Same seat, and he had his show in America at the time. Sat in 1A, and I literally about 3 times I think he flew, and he wouldn't even look at me. Didn't even turn, and at least the other guy looked at me. This guy wouldn't even look at me, and I just thought, that's so weird. And you know what it's like.
And manners cost nothing.
No. And even when you're doing, like, say, job that Trev does now, and you literally have to say, we've got, get you off the aircraft early, you've got somebody meeting you at the door, we'll transfer, no acknowledgement whatsoever. And you're just like, you're actually screwing up the whole procedures here that I have to deal with. So it's not reassuring to hear
that. Alex, if you ever tried brushing your teeth every now and again, people might engage with you a bit more.
After a couple of these.
It's that passenger morning breath.
Oh, no. 24/7 with Chisnell.
Oh my gosh, passenger breath. I actually forgot about that as one of like, isn't it flying so glamorous? Morning.
I need water.
Straight on through rest. Straight in the cabin. Oh.
How long were you at the private airlines for then, Stephen?
It was just for 1 year. So
and then you got fired after you flew with the
they fired me. Get out. So now I star in one of her dance videos. I knew it was 1 year, and in my heart of hearts, I kind of wanted it to go on, but I learned from my SEP training days about what safety was and what was and wasn't legal. Now, I won't say who I did work for, but I do know that laws were broken and rules were broken. You can bend a lot of rules, but when I saw safety was out of the window, gone, for example, that's like you'd go to the directors and say, this is wrong, this needs to change. They didn't want to hear. But then after, like, we used to call it Moaning Monday, because every Monday morning I would go in and tell them what they'd done wrong, saying, this is illegal, this is illegal. Not that I wanted to be this somebody, but I knew aviation law because my SEP was amazing what I was taught. Like gun laws, for example, you couldn't take a gun onto the airline that I worked in. In the private sector, you would speak to people and say, no, I'll just keep my gun with me. And it was that different.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Like, for example,
okay,
someone owns a jet and they could walk out and they could all just have guns just showing, and they can, no x-rays, no screening, no nothing, and off they walk onto that plane. But if I rented that jet from that person, I would have to be screened, but I could still take that gun with me. It's a completely different world. And going back to what you say about the 1 year, when it did come up, I did want it to carry on, but on the other side of the coin, it wasn't the aviation I was used to, but it was the aviation that I learned to adapt to.
Yeah.
Which I've learned is an amazing industry to get into. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the top knowledge person in the world, or certainly not the most handsome person, but people who would like to get into the private sector, do you know what? I really want to swear now, but you know what? Do it. Do you know what? Apply for it. Do not think that you're not good looking enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're too fat, or you're too old. It doesn't matter. Apply for it, you know?
Good.
Do it. And if you get turned down, you get turned down. Keep going. Some of my friends applied for 30 private jet companies before they even got an interview, because that's just how it is. A girl I know from America, she's on $70,000 is her basic wage, plus trip allowance now. And she was knocked back time and time again. And she's this thin, young, petite girl, like in her 30s. So it's, if you don't believe in yourself, just keep doing it. Like, that's how I've ended up where I am now. I never believed that I would be where I am now if I was to look at my CV or my education or like my weight, you know.
So where are you now then, Steve? What's your job title now?
I'm I'm currently an air traffic control assistant, because I haven't passed my courses yet. Well, all of the courses you need to be qualified, shall we say?
There's a lot of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I even hoovered up today because I didn't know how this camera thing was going to pan out. I cleaned my windows.
Not on the carpet, love. You're all right.
I am going to show you. I am in my spare room, but like,
it's not on the carpet yet.
All of them there.
Wow, look at that.
That's bigger than an SCP manual.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Carry that around with you.
They're my notes that I took for 6 months.
Wow.
6 months. I'm 11 months in for 6 months.
I mean, really, it is one of the most dangerous and responsible jobs in the aviation industry, right? You're literally taking care of every single plane around your bit of sky.
I wouldn't say it was dangerous, but it is.
Well, it is if you sneeze or, you know, go to the
loo. For us. It is for us.
It is for you.
You're living under Luton Aircraft.
I go on flight track and I'm like, Simon's on that one. Do you know what? Let that one go.
Or is that bird from that girl band? Now let her go. I'll teach her. Look at me now, woman.
Yeah. You should have respected my 99p off iTunes. Simon's collapsed. The first exam that you have to do is a 2-week exam, and that's at the Met Office. You do a week down in, somewhere in Exeter, and then everyone's dying here. And then you go to Belfast to do another course, and just that weather course alone is £2,500.
Wow! Did you have to pay for yourself?
Some air traffic controllers were. I've landed on my feet where I work. They see people who they think have got potential, and they invest everything. So they've paid for it.
Steve from Cumbria, Ian paying £2,500.
yeah. What? £2,500? That's what I. What?
I mean, to be crude as well, though. But the wage potential for an air traffic controller is massive, right? I mean, it's pretty decent. I mean, you're talking more than the old captains getting.
A basic wage at Heathrow is roughly about £80,000.
Wow.
When it comes to overtime, you can tell them what you want to be paid per hour, because you can't shut Heathrow. And if they haven't got any staff, they'll pay it to come in. So that comes down to like where airlines have to then cut costs because air traffic control is so expensive. So taking away that amenity kit off an airline to pay their landing fees and their stands. Like when I was on the ground, it was £300 a minute if your aircraft was late moving off a stand.
Jeez.
Now, I don't know how much it was at Luton, but Heathrow, I don't know.
It's a lot of responsibility. So Paul Edge has asked, and I think it's probably the right way to go for this. So is there like a basic standard of education that you need to get into this? Because it's quite a specific job, isn't it?
Yes. Hi, Paul. Thank you for that question. Right, I'm not going to lie. As Simon said, I'm from Cumbria, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone from Cumbria.
I got all levels up there.
I love it. Yeah, don't apologise.
I left school with, I think my highest grade in GCSE was C, and that was for science. And my maths was good as well. And I did like outdoor education, right? Learn how to build fires and eat a camel, right? But, you know, don't turn that into something, right?
There's a lot of them in Cumbria.
Yeah, loads. But my education was basically I did GCSEs, passed all of this, and then I think it was like life experience and the knowledge that I learned from aviation. That's what got me to where I am, because they saw potential in me. But I don't have any degrees, or I haven't been to college or university. I work with two guys now. One of them was a squaddie. He was based out in Afghanistan, and the other guy, I can't remember what he did, but he just said, "I want to go into air traffic control," and they're there now. And you do the courses. You do your MET course first, then you do your tower course and your approach course. And those two courses are £20,000 each, 4 months long. And then you're in this room with just screens all around you where you are tested. And that's like what you do, these courses, and then you qualify. So you don't have to be, now I'm not saying anyone on this group or anyway is stupid or they wouldn't be able to do it. But again, it's if you want to do something, and if you're willing to put the work in and learn, then you know what?
It's a commitment, right? Yeah, you've got to want this, I think, because the amount of work that you have to put in to be successful in it, and to get even just to get the job, you've got to want it, and you've got to be committed.
Thank you so much for just that comment. That means a lot to myself that you said that, because you're saying that I've actually done that. So
of course.
I'm looking directly at you rather than the screen. And it still is hard, and I still learn every day. For example, if there is a thunderstorm or there are certain types of fog and mist and haze with different codes and alphabet, and you're like, and you still have to look. You still have to look at your notes, and which is allowed. You're not expected to know everything. Well, like when you do an SEP exam, you are allowed to. What's this type of rain? Like there's 5 types of rain. And it's like, to me, it's like it's raining or it's not. Like in Cumbria, we put our washing out in it, right? But you look at your notes and you're like, okay, this is what it is, and that's what that kind of, like different types of wind to when we send NOTAMs, for example, out to aircraft. These are, you may have seen them on board, what the pilots look at, and they're just jumbled letters and words, and you're like, what on earth does it say? And now I can write them. I know how to do it because I had it in me. I will learn this. I can do this. So it wasn't about my education 20 years ago. It's about the willing to want to do it now. And so Paul, thank you for that question.
Yeah. Alex, you got some more questions?
Yeah, Stephen, here's a question. So how much of your work do you take home with you? Because I think one of the beauties that everyone probably agree with being crew is that you literally left all your cares and your worries at the aircraft door, literally. You
in the aircraft door, I would put it in the trash compactor on final descent. It would be gone. Like the thing is, where we are such a small team, and we have lots of flying schools who are constantly, I need this flight, I need this slot, I need to do this, I need to do that, and it was constantly changing. So while everyone got coronavirus and we weren't allowed to play out, we still had to work, but we had an amazing roster where it was 2 on, 4 off. So you would be booking in all of these students on your days off. But my colleagues would then be texting me, what's this flight? What's that? But you never took your worry home, because it was, you have to, by law, you have to have breaks in aviation, in air traffic control. So you can then go off, and the first thing you do is you pick up your phone and look at some crap on Facebook. Look at someone moaning because their cat shit in a frigging cupboard or something, anything to distract you from your job, to go back to normality, and then you come back in again. Yes. and then you come back and you're like, okay, you have your briefing, and then you carry on. But there were days where you would bring it home and you would sit and think, did I do this? Should I have done that? Not in like a dangerous way, but you do think about the whole day, what you've done. Like, oh, you could book one aircraft to land here, knowing that there's another one, what should have been 10 minutes out. And then you're jiggling their strips around trying to pass it to my controller, who then they're like Terminator when it comes to it. They're like bleep, 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 bleep. And they just make it work. And it is incredible what my seniors, because we have 2 desks and I'm on the back desk because, you know, I'm new. When you watch what they do with all of their knowledge and skills that they've learned to keep airplanes apart, and because we're digital now, we can zoom into something like 15 miles away at objects, and they can tell when an aircraft is not 1,000 feet apart. Wow. And that is incredible. You know, it's like, how do they do that?
Steve, I want to know, because you're literally the first digital airfield in the UK, is your training very much different to other air traffic controllers because it is digital? Is there an extra thing you have to learn?
Yes, Trevor. Well, when I first started at Cranfield, we were in the old tower, which was from like the 40s, where Cranfield originally opened. And people still laugh at Cranfield now, saying like, oh, it's just a field. But it is actually an international airport in the middle of nowhere. And we were in the 1940s tower up until mid-March, where you can look at an aircraft out of windows. So you could visualize aircraft. Where are they? What are they doing? How high they are? And then when you go to digital tower, you do have training. You have like, it's in-house training. You're signed off, and you have to then try not to, because if I'm looking at the digital tower here, there are windows just like over your shoulder, but you're encouraged not to look at them. So where was that plane? You constantly just look at this.
Yeah.
And that's where to start off with was very strange, because you were in a dome. You're in a dome like this with screens around you, and an aircraft is taxiing along Alpha. Here it goes off screen and immediately appears there on your other side.
You've got to switch your brain around, right?
Yeah. And I did count today, actually, because I thought in case you wanted to ask or no.
That was my next question.
Yeah. 29 screens we have around us. And I've got 6 here and then 6 in front of me. And then there's another 2 over here with 3 little monitors, which are for pressure, for wind, all of these different things like QFE and Q and H and things. Go on, Trevor, sorry.
Yeah, Steve, I was wondering, with all this technology, it's very highly advanced. But what happens if you come in and trip over the plug?
Only you do that, Trev.
You get fired.
Your head blows.
Tea and biscuits.
Your head blows.
Yeah, there will be no biscuits.
Is there an extension lead?
Yes, there is. For next, we use all their electric.
I see.
Funneled through.
Red wine, please.
If I
can't get a word.
He's trying to order wine in his little camper van.
Sorry, what's your question, love? What's your question, love?
Garçon.
Oh, are we ready? Right, here we go. Listen, this question has 10 parts. So just sit back, relax, crack open another bottle of Prosecco, Stephen. Here we go. Listen,
I want to be South African one. Go on, then.
I know you like the South Africans better, son. Yes.
What?
I just asked you a question, man.
No, all right, man. Bloody hell, right, hang on then. Right, listen. We've got loads of people piloting. I swear to God, we've got loads of people watching tonight.
Go on.
Okay.
I'm talking.
I know.
Right, listen.
Get on with it.
Oh, he's gone now.
He's binned him. Oh no.
The timing. The timing
the
of it.
timing was very good.
That
I
was
have to say.
perfect.
That's good because I want to ask you a question, Stephen.
That wasn't even me. That wasn't even me.
Wasn't it?
Well,
I thought that was comedic
Trevor.
timing down to the.
While we wait for him to come
Can I ask
back
you a
in,
question, Stephen, while I'm waiting for him to come
of course
back?
you may.
The audience has gone up.
How with your break?
That's-
Because you hear
can't
so
hear
many
you, sorry.
things as crew. Do you have to have a break every certain amount of time? Like, how long can you go without a break? Because it must fry your brain looking at all these
2
screens.
hours.
That is 2 hours.
It's
That's
2
still quite a long
hours, and-
time.
Yeah.
It is a long time, but like with the Rona at the moment, there were some days you'd have 2 flights in a day. But
Oh,
Whoa.
there was
sugar,
one day, a lad who I worked with, because we were all in teams, and me and George, and we had 40 aircraft movements in one day, which
yeah.
is a lot anyway for our small little airport.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
But the skies are still open, right? Because I mean, the other day I saw a plane. I thought, oh, that's weird, and looked on flight radar, and it was Kuala Lumpur to Bournemouth.
Yes, the
Oh,
Bournemouth
I have to take some
Massive.
penicillin if they're going to Bournemouth.
Easy.
So yeah, the skies are still open, aren't
Donna,
they?
where'd you go?
Here he is.
They are, and one thing which I didn't even think about in aviation was there are different types of sky, which sounds really bizarre. So the ground's here, and then this part of the sky is called G space. So we control this, and then above it is another type of sky, and so forth, and it goes higher and higher, and everyone has different sections of sky to look after. And
Outer space. That's what Simon could look after.
Sorry.
Simon could look after outer space.
What was your question, love?
No.
Yeah, go on, Simon.
Amazingly.
Oh my God! Right, I'm so not touching anything from now on. Okay.
Yeah, what
Like,
happened?
even
I've heard
you,
that
Stephen.
before, yeah.
Somebody created an earthquake. Somebody created an earthquake in the Scottish borders, knocked my phone over, and then that wiped me off the face of this duck. The duck came, attacked me, and that was it.
Had nothing to do with the gallon of red wine you've had today. Go on then.
No,
Simon.
nothing.
Go on,
Right,
love.
listen. We've had so many people piling in, Stephen. I'm not joking. I swear to God, everybody's loving what you've got to say. They're absolutely in hysterics. It's like not just because of your personality. They're absolutely like intrigued about your stories and just like the experience
Simon,
that you've gone through. They're
everyone
loving.
who's watching this, Simon and Trevor have both been on the phone to me today telling me not to swear. So I'm really consciously thinking about this because this is the hardest 1 hour of my life.
The police,
listen,
have been on the phone. The bouncers.
Hey, and all the things that you do as well, like online as well, with your different events and your quizzes and all that. Listen, you know you've got nothing to worry about. This is just having a bit of banter, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah, this is a very calm day.
Silence.
Yeah.
Silence.
Yep.
Right. Questions are coming. Right.
Okay.
If you don't answer these questions, you're getting out the briefing room and you're not flying on this 20-night Antigua, where the allowances are $50,000. So there you go. There's your pressure. Listen, I've had people. There's guys who's flown with you, right? I've been asked to ask you about Trev the cat.
Trev cat.
Tell me about Trev the cat. Yes. What's all this about? No, it's not him. He's Trev the rat.
I found
who's Trev? Trev cat. Fill the audience in what Trev cat is.
No,
right. And
my cat is called Trevor. And he's got his own Facebook group, and it's called The Adventure. I knew I was going to plug him today. It's called The Adventures of Trev Cat and His Humans. And I found him as a broken, ruined little kitten out the back, and he had a broken tail, and he was dying, and we looked after him. And my boyfriend was like, "Throw it outside. Come back off your 4-night San Francisco. If it's still there, we'll keep it. It'll be dead." Right, we can keep it in the garden. So we managed to take Trevor in and look after him, and he's a very boisterous cat, and everyone in the village like has the windows and doors open. He goes in. He's been in someone's house down the road and jumped on them, smashed their TV.
It's much like Trevor on a Lagos flight.
It's like Trevor on a Lagos. And every time that something happens with Trevor, I write it on the page. Like last night, I came in and I was really drunk, and then after I got to bed, he's actually thrown up and he's really poorly. So we're taking him to the vet soon because he's so like, "Hiya, how you doing?" But he's just laying on the bed and he's like lifting him up and he's just. So we know something's wrong. So. But that's who Trev Cat is. So if you want to follow Trevor, go on Facebook. The Adventures of Trev Cat and His Humans. Boom.
Yeah. Steve. How did he get that name? Did I fly you too much to Lagos?
I just looked at this furry little pussy laying in front of me and I thought, that reminds me of someone I know. Trevor.
Also, we've got. Can you remember a fella called John Deacon?
Yeah, I remember Johnny.
John Deacon.
Top man.
Yeah, Are you asking me then?
Yeah.
Support the dodgy football club.
I'm asking you, Stephen, because he's saying it's absolutely brilliant to see you, Stephen. He says fond memories. I think fond's a little bit careful, isn't it? Fond memories of post-training pints in the Foresters. You know, in the Foresters. I don't know what he's got up to there.
Foresters.
I was thinking it was one of the other San Francisco trips. Oh my god!
Don't do that. Don't do that with your face when you say that, please.
We lost Trev.
Oh, Trev's off.
John. Oh my god!
Trev's had an earthquake as well.
He's probably jumped into someone's room to smash their TV.
but we've got loads of people. We've had such a high amount of viewers, and they're still there watching. And honestly, mate, there's so many people watch this afterwards who obviously haven't got time to watch it live. It's absolutely soaring. Like, you know, you're like you as our special guest on tonight.
You're like bees
and not just crew. You're doing an awesome job.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. I don't really. I'm glad that you all are, and I hope that I'll give you some sort of inspiration to think. Because flight attendants are tired with that bush. Well, you're only a flight attendant. No, we all know that we're not, and I'm glad that everyone who is watching, I'm hopefully giving inspiration to. It doesn't matter if you've had a crappy education or you were brought up wrong. If you believe in yourself and you can force yourself not to swear, like I say, the hardest hour of my life today. But do whatever.
Well, Stephen, he's one for you, right? I don't know if you remember Kelly Rimmer. She was one of our buttes. Absolutely gorgeous girl. Dad was Jimmy, used to play for Aston Villa, won many European Cup in 1982, winners medal, absolutely stunning. Right, anyway, she's saying, listen, we echo all of this, right? You should be very, very proud of everything that you've achieved, Stephen. Sheer determination, believing in yourself, it really does pay off, and well done.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Lots of comments like that, to be honest with you.
Well said, Kelly.
Right. Oh, Kelly, thank you.
Stephen, can I ask if anyone's interested in doing air traffic control, what would you say their next step would be?
Good question.
Or their first step would be?
There is, if you wanted to really get into it, and if you're committed, you can actually do the meteorological course yourself down in Exeter. But like I say, it is $2,500, and that doesn't include your accommodation and your accommodation in Belfast. But if you can get that qualification under your belt first, then you can approach, say, Nats or Cranfield or Luton, Cambridge, the smaller airfields.
Yeah.
Get that qualification, and then you can go, even if they're not even recruiting, just apply. We have it all the time. People are asking, can we come and work for you? What's the criteria? But with that qualification under your belt, it really does push you on the good side.
At the front of the queue.
Yeah,
and you know, I'm a big believer that you need to invest in yourself sometimes, and sometimes something might seem like an awful lot of money, but that you'll get that money back because you're at the front of the queue for the check, the paycheck at the end there. Yeah, because we've had someone, Emma Walker works for ATSA in Guernsey, so we've got members out there, and I mean, there's a guy, Andy Tudor, I don't know if you remember him. He works in Bournemouth. He works as air traffic control there, and he's done amazing since he left the airline.
Well, Andrew, if you're down at Bournemouth, you'll know a certain flying school with one letter and then the number after it. Don't you just love looking after them?
We have to get the gossip
Who's
on that
Andy
one.
Tudor? Works down by me then in air traffic. Do I know him?
What's
Andy
his name?
Tudor.
B78.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
What's that, Alex?
I said, who's that? Did you say Andy Tudor works down
Andy
here?
Tudor, yeah, he used to be cabin crew for the airline we used to work for, and yeah, he's done amazing. He's pretty high up in the air traffic control down in Bournemouth now.
We speak to them all the time. I might ring him next time.
You probably do speak to him.
Press a button. I've probably spoken to him.
Pretty high up.
Yeah,
I bumped into. Do you remember Mark Meaning? He left to become a pilot. I bumped into him like in an Indian restaurant down here.
I remember him.
A training captain down here in Bournemouth.
All he can afford is an Indian, £8.
Dundee night special.
Yeah.
Dundee night special.
Steve, I was going to ask, because ATC has gone digital. What's it like
not everywhere?
No, but that's what I mean. You are the first, so obviously this is going to be the future of aviation, or as I see it. Is this part of the research project for Cranfield University? And the reason I say that, because it is quite a darkened room. I mean, Ali knows this because she's used to spending time in a dark padded room. Anyway,
so Simon.
On the weekend, Trev, don't talk about that.
No. We're talking about your Harry Potter, but your little Harry Potter house. But
my what?
Your Harry Potter under the stairs.
Euphemism.
That is a euphemism. Yeah.
I am acknowledging this.
Yeah.
The
wizard sleeve.
Right. It's magic, I tell you.
Right.
Enough.
Right.
This is TV Gold. This is TV
Gold.
Ali's gone.
And Simon, so you're in. Yeah. I'll take Ali's vision of her dark padded room out of here for one moment. But what's the atmosphere like in a room full of screens, knowing it's not the real world? Do you still get do you get to go over that connection rather than looking at the control tower?
This is what I'm not looking at the camera because I'm actually I'm just getting a photograph up on my screen on my phone so I can show you all in a moment. And you are in the
hello. Vogue.
Screenshot that.
You've got.
It's a wizard, Harry. I'm just keep thinking it's a wizard. Harry, I've got it. It's a wizard,
I remember
Harry.
you saying something
It's a
about
wizard, Harry.
room.
That was Slytherin. That was Slytherin that did that.
Slytherin somewhere.
Stop it.
Right. Okay. Back on track.
Professional.
It's a woman. It's a woman, Harry.
Right.
Harry, it's a woman.
So Steve, you're okay. So, what is the connection like with the outside world rather than looking at these screens? I mean, do you get just used to screens, or because it's never going to be quite the same, is it?
Do you know what you watch in the films? No, there's people coming and going, and like our manager's office is right next door to it. He's such a lovely manager. He's so relaxed. He's actually laying down like he's like a caterpillar. Honestly, he just comes in, you pat him on the head, and off he goes. But
he's watching tonight.
We have windows. Actually, as well. I sent him a link. And if you are, I love you dearly, my friend. Thank you. But
when have you ever patted a caterpillar?
Vision.
Oh shit! I'm off.
And on next week's show.
It's for his own good.
Right.
Simon Breve.
Anyone? I think everyone who's seen like films and TV sees like you in this darkened room with like a little round bleep 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 bleep. It isn't like that at all. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It isn't like that at all. Because I'm gonna hold my phone up there. Excuse me, right? Oh, but
you've got to put your lock on.
Like my seats. Well, I don't even know how to do that, Trevor. It took me what 2 hours to ask how to get this link.
Yeah.
Your aeroplane's fine. Don't worry.
And you're working for Digital ATC.
That's my little office here. Yeah, I know. I still can't do the printer.
It's bigger than Ali's.
It is nothing like what you see on the films.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Well, Ali's room.
There
I've
I
seen
am.
Ali's room on the films.
It's nothing like on the films.
That's my that's my office there. So there's the screens at the back, the screens in the middle, and the screens.
Why is
at the
Alex
front.
in your office?
Yeah. It must feel like you're playing a computer game.
Honestly, Alex, it is like when the first time I walked in there, I was like, wow, this is like Star Trek. And we haven't got because Saab invented all this technology, which started off in Scandinavia somewhere. And then we got it back in the room now, Simon, all better. Yeah.
All good, crack on, mate. Good lad. Yeah. You're gold. Go on.
So, think about is Tenement now. Sorry. So this technology is crazy amazing. Like we've got it where if you imagine your iPad is this big, but times that by 10, and we've got this system. We haven't actually got it integrated yet, but I can write out a flight strip, let's say BA 123 to Istanbul, and I can, rather than printing it and walking around giving it to you, can flick on the screen and it sends it to the air traffic controller next to you.
Like Iron Man.
Their control. It is just like that. You're like, but we haven't got that integrated yet. I'm not saying we have the most expensive package, but we haven't got the cheapest. We've got a really top of the range one. Even
Windows 98
down at Heathrow. Yeah, Windows 98. Even
if you're one of the first. You're the first stations to be doing this. Does this mean that you've got the opportunity, perhaps when it starts going out to further afield, you've got all of this opportunity in the world for yourself because you're experienced in this digital ATC?
Yeah, and it could be that in effect. Like Nats at Heathrow, they have a version of what we've got, and we were first, and they weren't happy. I'm not going to lie. And ours is tremendous. But let's say 5 years down the line, let's just say Manchester, for example, they invest in this type of technology. Not that I would leave Cranfield, because I feel like it's my little baby now and we're helping it grow. And touch wood, there's a lot which could come potentially in the very close future to make us expand even bigger, like with the private jet sector. But if Manchester took on that technology, I could, or one of my colleagues, we could be like, okay, well, we could go to Manchester and train, for example. And it's one thing I do love, like when you flew and you had your new little one and they've got all the little shiny wings and the uniform still fits and the makeup's terrible because they still haven't learned and they haven't been to they haven't been to LA and bought good makeup yet and they look like RuPaul drag queen, right? Well, you develop and you learn, right? And then
you flew with Simon on his inaugural, clearly.
That's it, Stephen. You've got so much potential still. Like there's still so many more adventures in your future.
The reality, it isn't like I'm stuck in a room looking at a screen. It's venturing out because we're expanding our private jet business now, which my director and the airport manager have both invited me to come along and said, would I run it? Would I get this business up and running and look after the private jet side of things? So I will fade away from air traffic control, but I know that I actually won't. I know I'll still be in there doing my little bit as and when, but I'll be looking after business jets again. And our fees are a lot cheaper than other airports and people are really interested in coming in. So I'm now looking after private jets again while still on the ground. Yeah, I can help them fly off to wherever they need to be on their cheap line run.
Stephen, following on from that, actually, I was going to ask you, just to spite Simon, actually, because he's got his hand up more than any other reason, to be honest with you.
I get that.
But the question was, where do your ambitions lie then? Have you thought about, people say, 1 year plan, 3 year plan, 5 year plan? I don't know. Just like, what are you thinking?
Oh gosh,
options. Clearly got options, man.
That's quite a challenging question because where I am, I'm still wrapped up in this little bubble, if I'm honest, that I'm really proud of what I've achieved.
I think you should be.
I haven't actually thought bigger, like in the long term of I'm 40 now, I haven't thought what I'll do when I'm 50 or 60. Hopefully by 60 I won't be working. But it could lead to so many avenues. But definitely, I think hand on heart is, as much as I'm so proud of the aviation industry of ATC, I think I want to be back looking after the pilots, the crews, the jets, turn around, looking after passengers. And because while I'm in this amazing office and I work with an amazing small team who are really friendly, you have to be close-knit in air traffic. You can't not like someone, because if you're working with them trying to get an aircraft to go or like on its approach to land, you can't be that bitchy queen who's like, you know, you can't do that. But,
tell him I don't want to do this.
yeah. You know what, Captain? You can go around again.
That was Beyonce, wasn't it? That was Beyonce.
Sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah. Go on, Sorry.
Right, listen.
Look out for the earthquake.
What I'm hearing from you, Stephen, is great, right? Absolutely spot on with so many people who have joined our group, okay? It's like they've flown for so many years and they're kind of thinking that there isn't anything else to do. And listen, all these stories that we're putting on and all these amazing people that we're getting on, right? They're not just like one-off occasions. Yeah, they are, as they do in the interview, but they're not. It's such a big thing where like everybody goes on and becomes a different kind of person. They're not just being a crew member. You've got to sample a few things. I've done it. Alex has done it. Yeah. You've done it, Stephen. Like after you've left doing the long haul, whichever company you're with. Ali's done it. Leap of faith. You leave. You think, oh my God, what have I done? Trev's still there, but he's done it in a different capacity because he's had the leap of faith like alongside Ryan. He still took a gamble with doing something that he wanted to do. But the thing is, though, we've still done it. We've still experienced it, and we've still had to kind of, like, you know, go through a few little knocks here and there. You know, it's not been ideal. You think, oh my God, what the hell have I done here? What the hell have I done? But you kept moving forward. You kept trying. You know, and you got to where you need to be.
Yeah, I think aviation. I think if you were to join aviation and you do it 6 months, then you could just leave and you'd move on. But I think after that, I think aviation is kind of, don't really want to go deep and start talking like Sex in the City, but I think aviation is kind.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, you wish. Get yourself back on one of them sex apps, right?
I can't.
He lasted 64 minutes.
And he blocked me.
64 minutes. Boom.
I think with aviation, it's kind of like a love life. However long you're in that relationship, it takes half that time to get over it. And I look on Flight Tracker and I still follow a certain company's airlines around their aircraft around the world, thinking that's going from Nigeria, that's coming from Shanghai. And I think, who's on that plane? And the friends who I'm still friends with on Facebook, they'll say, oh, I'm off to Shanghai. And then I'm watching them and I'm following them thinking, wow, that's lovely. I remember
that's cool,
that.
Man.
You'll never ever get aviation out of you if you're unfortunate enough to have been fired or made redundant because of everyone's got bloody COVID. You know, don't think that, oh well, that's it, I can never do anything else again, because what you don't realize in aviation, you don't know what you've learned until you're not flying. You're nice to someone, giving them a drink. Or you've got all this, like, I won't say qualification, but this training in medicine. Like Simon's got these amazing qualifications now, working as paramedic. But being on an aeroplane is not just about smiling, looking pretty, serving a drink. You are constantly learning cultures down route, how to look after, respect, to fix something, and all you've got is a bloody plastic spoon and a salt shaker, but you managed to stop a toilet leaking with it.
MacGyver of aviation.
And so
I'm glad you fixed that engine on that flight. We made it home, mate. We made it home.
I need to get down the pub and sell my fags. Come on,
halfway across the Atlantic we were, Steve. Well done, buddy.
So I know this isn't my channel and you've invited me here, but I would like to say to everyone who's watching who has been laid off or who feels that they need to leave their airline because that it's not for them anymore. Honestly, look at me, all right? I'm just this common northern boy from up north, and I believe in myself, right? Even if you have your shitty days where you're like, no, I'm no good at anything. No, you are. Look at me. My highest GCSE, like I said earlier, was a C. Jesus. And now I'm looking after planes in the sky. You know, I look after famous people all around the world. I've looked after presidents of countries without naming names. One of them told you to put bleach in your body, and I've looked after that person, right?
No.
And I'm just a boy from Cumbria that grows potatoes in my window box, right? You can be whoever you want to be. Just believe in yourself, because after flying, there is more. That's what my final thought on people who are struggling would be.
Stephen, you said your highest. You said your highest GCE.
I can't hear Simon, love.
Which school did you go to?
Yeah. I'm sorry, say that, Simon. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Right. You hear us now, Stephen. Right. You said your highest GCE was in Jesus. What?
A C.
Did you go to?
It was a C. I said it was a C. Wash your ears out. Gee whiz. Why don't you use that rag that you're wearing to clean out your ears? That rag will clean them out real good.
It's been so good to hear your story, Stephen.
Do you know what?
Thank you.
Yeah, Stephen.
I'm actually getting messages pinging from the top now.
Do you know what? But we usually try and keep this to an hour, but your stories have been absolutely amazing. And
I didn't even go for a wee.
No, I know. And
everyone who's watching, I'm going to tell you the truth. We've had this little keyword, and I had to say my Wi-Fi was rubbish, so it meant that I could go for a wee because I have a really weak bladder. And honestly, I'll show you now because I don't care.
Not your bladder?
Oh
my God! I'm going to show you colostomy.
Oh,
that's full. That's in the sink. Get washed.
Oh,
have you been peeing in a bottle?
No, I needed one.
Ali does the same. Don't worry, we use this every week. But no, Steve, honestly.
Stop it.
Well, stop it. No, Steve, that's been brilliant. I'll tell you what, and I'll let the viewers know. Stephen was actually a very bit nervous about coming on today, but I'll tell you what, it's been so entertaining. We've ran way over time, and it doesn't matter. It's been really, really interesting, and he just proves to anyone, crew, or if you have been crew, you can really achieve absolutely anything. And this is what this group is all about, really. I mean, I've had the pleasure of working with these guys who I know have gone off to do other things, and I've enjoyed every minute. It's like being back in the older crew rooms or having a drink after flight. Honestly, I've really loved it.
It's like Galley 4.
It's like Galley 4. Well, yeah, not always. Not for those of us who still work for an airline. It's most certainly not. But then, honestly,
I believe that we've finished now, haven't we? That we still
no. It's still live. No, that's called the green room. We've got that to come yet. Don't you worry. But I was going to say, it's.
Can I put my shorts back on now? Just a minute.
My God, my earphones almost exploded. One at a time. Right. Okay. Now we will finish this broadcast soon. But I was just saying, you have given hope to a lot of people, and people are really going through it, and they do feel alone. Honestly, when you're not always with crew, you think, what's going to happen to my job? And this is a real way to get to Evergate. I say that I know we've had a massive influx of members this week alone. And
they knew it was coming on, mate.
Oh, this was it.
Next week will be shut down, done, closed.
It's all about Steve. It's all about Steve. Yeah. So no, we're ending. So we're going to the green room and carry on. And I want to hear the proper names and the proper stories of the people you looked after.
Oh, because I've got no shame. I would say it. No. You told me I couldn't even swear.
Bollocks, do I? No, you can't.
Before I do go, right? I know this isn't all about me. This is a group thing that we're on, and I know that I can't give out my details or anything like that. But I do hope that I might have been able to inspire someone. Like when I did Mount Everest 3 years ago, no, 4 years ago, my slogan was to inspire other people, to help other people. And I stand by it. And if people who are watching this tonight want to ask me questions, or if they even just ring up or like message me like, I'm feeling really shit, I hate what my life's becoming, I would more than happily, honestly, strangers, people I know, please message me, ask a question, have a moan, you know, and I'd be more than happy to do it, because that's what flying does. You see, I don't even know people that I would support with somebody, and I stand by it. If anyone wants to ask up.
Listen, Stephen, this is what this actually community does, right? For people, it creates an absolute bond. It brings people together, and everyone's got each other's backs. And if we, as individuals, can help just one other person, it doesn't matter who it is. I don't give a crap who it is. You know what I mean? If we can just help one person in any way, whether it's like mental health, whether it's support, emotionally, I know it might sound a bit like, ooh, that's a bit cheesy kind of thing. But if it's employment-wise, if it's career-wise, CV-wise, anything that you can take away from what we do on this show, you know, what you're giving to us, Stephen, right now, you know what I mean? If you can take anything away from it, just freaking, and just gun for it, you know what I mean? That's what it's all about. This is what we're here for. You know, it's amazing to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, okay. Just before I go, just really quick, as usual, we go around the room. Just really quick closing comments. Ali, I shall start with you on my bottom right-hand side. Not my bottom, obviously, but my bottom.
Simon.
You know, as cabin crew, you've got so many talents, and I'm exactly the same as Stephen. I've had people message me since my interview, and I'm very happy to ever chat to anybody that wants to just talk about how they're feeling or what they might want to do next. We're always here for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ali. Simon, sir.
Oh my God, there's been so many people like you've obviously flown with in the past, regardless of which airline you've flown with, and they're all saying hello. My God, what an amazing experience it was flying with you. They had such a great time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I had somebody saying that they came down from crew rest. Someone came down. You came down from crew rest, Castro. They came down from crew rest, and you slapped someone across the face, and they ran away screaming. I don't know what.
An old lady.
I'm glad I didn't see that. If I was your supervisor, I'm glad I didn't see that one. But you know what you don't see doesn't hurt.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, they screamed because you slapped them. You screamed because they saw you. Obviously, slapped them. You ran away. They ran away, and nothing else was done. Nothing else was tapped a little tap, and nothing else was done about it. But I tell you what, legendary flight, legendary.
Wherever you are. Thank you.
Right, Stephen, sir, your closing comments.
I would say I don't want to sound like Mother Teresa or some bloody preacher. I do not, but I would like to say to everybody, and I firmly stand by it, is don't think that you're not worth something, that you could never get somewhere, you could never be good enough, that you could never get a job in like air traffic control, or you could never be the film producer, or you could never be what you want to be. Stand on your feet and be proud of who you are and fight for what you want to do. If someone says you can't, then fucking tell them you will.
Right, that means I have to that long. I have to change this episode.
No, give Alex.
Yeah, Alex.
So sorry.
That's right. So don't worry. Oh,
it's all right. It only took 75 minutes. You did pretty well, dude. 75 minutes is pretty good going with that swearing.
Without
look, this has been another great episode. I mean, what I love about this is every week is just so different and so many inspiring stories. And you know what Stephen said, if Simon, Ali, Trevor said, if this inspires one person, we're already doing that. And the more we can do that, I've, same as you guys, had private messages over the last 7-8 weeks from people who said, I have started a business because I watched so-and-so on this episode and I have done this. Ali, you've had that. Somebody said, I've literally watched you and I've taken the same course that you've taken. So it is inspiring. We'll kind of reiterate what Stephen says, is that, if, you might be feeling sorry for yourself right now, all these different emotions. And I think we're going to do an episode just on this, because there is, psychologically, I think we were chatting about this, Ali, before, there is a set of emotions that you will go through when you are made redundant, or when you're faced with these kind of choices. No matter what walk of life that you're in, acceptance, anger, sadness, all these kinds of things. But it is a great big world out there, and it's a lot closer than you realize. It's a lot smaller these days. It really is, with the advent of the internet and social media, etc. And there's so many possibilities out there. You've just got to do something. You've just got to start. Whatever it is, tomorrow, listen to this episode, watch it back. Stephen, we will literally get 10 to 15 times the amount of people who watch this live, watching it on the replay. So be prepared.
Well, I want the royalties.
Well, that's why Trev wants to get it on YouTube, because then he
I thought you were going to say Trev wants to get on you, as in that was end of sentence.
That's a different episode.
On the shoulder.
You're needing a lot of special effects for that one.
Yeah, that's already happened. That was 1999.
It was Simon.
On an Ellwood.
Yeah, that's right. You were the referee. You were the referee, weren't you?
Marina. Yeah. I tagged you out. I was in out. I tell you what, you got a pound in that night.
Right, let's wrap this up now.
There might be a bit of editing required on this episode.
Okay, right. Okay, well, unlike my closing comments, please. Thank you so much. I know we've got a Alex, we're doing another episode on Thursday, a business one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, okay. We'll be doing an episode on Thursdays for those of you who are looking to start your own business. It's usually a bit more sensible than this one, but I've had a really, really enjoyable time on this one. I think sometimes when you're going through dark times, you just need this just to lift the spirits for yourself and for those people that are around you. Yeah. And do you know, modern technology has changed so much that we can actually contact each other like this rather than just sit in a room. You
still haven't got to grips.
It's wonderful. I haven't. But
I've
then
been down the pub today, and you have to text the barman. Can I have a drink?
Yeah.
You're never alone.
Yeah, but
that's the point.
You're never
Trevor,
alone.
in modern technology, is not a good mix, is it, Alex?
Well, it's a lot easier without you lot.
Trevor, in modern technology.
Yeah,
that's called being in the house on your own with nothing switched on yet.
Right. Final order of business.
What the hell?
Right now, Stephen hasn't been on before, but those regular viewers will know exactly what the duck means. Now, obviously, we've gone very professional. You see our logo on our ticker tapes.
Oh my God!
He paid the £30 yearly subscription fee.
To win this duck, all I need to know is from last week's episode. You don't even have to watch it. Just guess who had the most ducks in their window. Now, it was either myself, it was Alex, it was Simon, it was Jen, and it was Jodie. So just put the name of the person, and how many ducks they had. I won't even look. Whoever's got the right ones, you'll win this fabulous StreamYard duck. Anyway, on that note, guys, hopefully you'll join us next week for another episode of Not Just True Life. But honestly, thank you for watching.
Who was it, Trev? Do we know yet?
No, I want to see. I want to see. No, I will not even be entering this competition. Anyway, listen. So we're going back to the green room and Ali's padded room, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And if not, join us Thursday for Ask Alex or whatever the name of his program is. Thank you very much. Everyone else, please join us in the green room.
Get ready, Ali.
Right now. Bye.
Get ready, Ali.
Bye.
I've got the